Prepare yourself.
Ever since the reveal trailer for Fire Emblem Engage dropped, fans have been trying to figure out what exactly this break mechanic is and why brawling weapons have an advantage over bows. Well, as it turns out, body art weapons just beat
everything.
Well, not everything, just these guys. Hey guys, your fellow Ragnar enthusiast Royal Blue here with some quick news updates about Fire Emblem Engage. This past week, some of our questions regarding Fire Emblem Engage's weapon triangle and the break system were answered, along with details about the Armor Knight Louis and the Pegasus Knight Chloe. Let's start with Louis' spotlight. Right away, Louis reminds me of Kellum from Awakening, who is also an Armor Knight. Louis' profile on the Japanese Fire Emblem Twitter account says, Louis is a palace knight from the kingdom of Firene. He's a gentle servant wearing massive armor. He always pays attention to how his friends are faring and seems happy whenever he sees them at peace. It looks like he is confirmed to be the initial class of Armor Lance. From what I can tell, it seems that classes like Armor, Pegasus, Cavalier, and others might be weapon locked to a single weapon type, unlike Three Houses where the class system was much more open and customizable. We've seen a few Sword and Axe Pegasus Knights, along with Sword and Axe Cavaliers, and even some Sword and Axe Armor Knights. The first clip of Louis seems to be of a support conversation between him and Alir. Alir asks Louis what he's up to. He mentions that he's just been watching some people chatting in the distance, and Alir seems confused and asks why. Louis then says he doesn't really know why, and that's about it. Louis is said to have a hobby of people watching, so that kind of explains that awkward situation. Next up is Louis' combat showcase, and in typical Armor Knight fashion, he's seen taking 2 hits from an archer and taking no damage. The scene then transitions to a map we saw during Celine's showcase. The enemies are thieves again, and if we look to the bottom right, we can see that the player's units are split on each side of the map. We can also see what appears to be some doors and a chest. I think it's also safe to assume that this little guy here is the boss. The clip then ends with Louis finishing off the archer with nothing but an iron lance. Next up is Chloe. Her profile says, Chloe is a palace knight from the kingdom of Firene. She's easygoing and adores her liege, Princess Celine. She loves fairy tales and pretty scenery and is always seeking a picturesque combination of the two. So again, Chloe is from Firene and Princess Celine's retainer. There is a small clip of a support conversation between the two where they discuss how they should spend their afternoon, but again, not much to cover there. Chloe's combat showcase is held on the same map as the one we see in Alfred's Spotlight. If you haven't seen Alfred's Spotlight, check out my latest video where I cover all the other character spotlights revealed up to this point and the reveal trailer. Again, there really isn't much happening here that we haven't seen already. Chloe has an iron lance and a javelin in her inventory, and she crits the sword Pegasus while also breaking them. Speaking of break, that leads us into the juice of this video. Earlier this week, Nintendo revealed the specifics of Engage's weapon triangle, the break system, and how certain advantages will work in the game. As per tradition, the good old weapon triangle that most of the Fire Emblem titles have included is back. Swords beating axes, axes beating lances, and lances beating swords, and so on. At this time, it doesn't really seem that bows, tomes, or daggers have any specific advantages against any other weapons, but this probably is meant to help balance the fact that gray-colored weapons are all ranged. I'm assuming daggers will be ranged as well, because they have been in past games, but not always. From what we see in the reveal trailer, bows still do well against flyers, and magic still does well against low-resistance units like Armor Knights. But it's still unclear if those advantages will grant the ability to trigger break. Likely not. Interestingly, the brawling or body art weapon type is shown to have an advantage against not only bows, as I speculated in my last video, but also against tomes and daggers. At first, this makes the body art weapons seem very good. No other weapon has an advantage like this over more than 1 or 2 other weapons. This means a brawling class unit can break any archer, mage, or thief type unit. All these weapon types seem to be color coordinated as well. It's unclear at this point if the color could also play into future advantages, especially when it comes to promoted classes or special weapons, but it's definitely something we should keep our eyes on for the future. Alright, I bet you're still wondering how exactly this break mechanic works and what happens to broken enemies. According to Nintendo of America's Twitter, they say you can inflict the break status on an enemy by landing an attack with a weapon that has an advantage. So attacking an axe unit with a sword unit, for example. Broken units then cannot counterattack until after their next attack, so you can use it to gain the advantage in battle. This seems pretty powerful. To be clear, this means that if you've broken an enemy unit, they cannot use their weapon or counterattack until after you've completed your full turn. Not only does this enhance the meaning and usage of the weapon triangle, it also makes things like leveling up weaker units a bit easier. Ideally, you would want to break an enemy unit as soon on your turn as possible. At that point, all weaker units who might need to gain experience can attack the broken unit without fear of a counterattack and ultimately dying. On the other side of things, this makes placing your units far more important than it used to be. Putting a sword user on the side of the map that is swarming with lance units would be nearly impossible to survive. With all that said, brawling units still seem to have a general advantage over the other classes. While they likely won't have any ranged attacks, as far as we know, there isn't a single weapon type that has an advantage on body arts. Is this because body arts are just fist fighting and kicking techniques, so there's no actual weapon to drop or break? Hopefully we'll learn more about these advantages in the future. Last couple things I want to touch on. First, this awesome image of Sigurd that was posted on Halloween. Nothing really to say about it other than it looks super sick, and I'm definitely a fan of blue. Hey guys, Future Royal Blue here. As I'm editing this video, some new info on Sigurd actually came out, so I'm going to cover it really quick. So we do know that his emblem title is the Emblem of the Holy War, and he has this nice portrait that we've kind of seen already. And there's actually this neat little support conversation between him and Alir where he mentions that he would care for Alir like his own child, which is pretty cool. The post does actually mention that whoever equips Sigurd's ring will get increased movement, and I think that's pretty cool. Even if you attach it to a low movement character, you'll get some of that cavalry movement, which will be pretty cool. And then next we see his combat showcase, and he's actually attached to Crom. And it's pretty cool because we actually get confirmed that that Canter skill does act like Canto, so they do get to move again after attacking, which is pretty neat. This little, I don't know what it says yet, but it says up at the end. I don't know if that's like a support up or bond up, probably. That's pretty cool, but I'm glad we got some new information on Sigurd. He just looks, honestly, like the best designed character so far, so I really like that. I'm really excited to see what Ike looks like, but yeah, we'll get back to the video. And second, in these break images that were shared by Nintendo on Twitter, we see that this unit is labeled as Fabrication. This little battle screenshot seems to take place in the Holy Land or Somniel, based on the background. I'm wondering if this is some sort of training map where you can grind your units up a bit. Maybe this is reserved for casual mode or something like that. It's also possible that it's part of the story and you have to fight artificial enemies related to the emblem rings themselves, sort of like evil emblems. It's also interesting to point out that you can see the hair color of this Fabrication unit. It seems to be light blue and pulled back in a ponytail. Now, I'm no expert, but unless it's a boss or another important unit, enemy units in Fire Emblem typically don't look very distinct or unique. It's possible that this unit is even someone recruited in your own army, unless all fabricated units have light blue or white hair to match what engaged units look like, acting as evil counterparts to engaged units to balance things out for the enemy. Either way, I'm starting to ramble, so I'll leave the rest of the theory crafting to you guys. Leave a comment and let me know if you think body art weapons will be broken, or if you think Intelligent Systems has yet to reveal more details about its balancing. Leave a like for Ike, and hit that subscribe button if you fight for your friends. I'll see you guys soon.